Today, I'm going to be talking to you about Blood Borne Pathogens. It's an awareness class. Our folks are trained to handle a lot of things. One of them is how do we handle blood-borne pathogens. This is for the folks that may work at the library or some other place that may not really get exposed to that. However, some of the folks that do get exposed, landfill, you folks are dealing with waste products. The folks that clean restrooms, like Ed's crew, you're exposing yourself to blood-borne pathogens. So we want to kind of touch bases on that and how to deal with all that. So, by the way, the screen's green for the IT guys in the back there. All right. Anyway, I like to throw things in just to see if you're awake. All right. Why are you receiving this? Well, you were told to. But more importantly, it's for your protection, okay? We don't want you to expose yourself needlessly to any body fluids that could contaminate you, could get you into some sort of illness. It's for your awareness, so you see something, you're going to know what to do about it. And it's also required in the initial job placement for the folks from Parks and Rec. You guys are dealing with running kids all day long. Who's Parks and Rec? I see a few of you around. Kids running all over the place, right? They get a scut knee, or they hurt themselves, knock out a tooth because somebody threw a tire at them. Those types of things. We want you to be prepared for that, or how to deal with that. All right, so what is it? All right, it's a microscopic organism that's carried in the blood. It may contain diseases. All right, and it says in humans, but it also in animals as well. Some animals can give us diseases. Also, diseases can be carried by insects, but that's a whole different story. We're just dealing with the humankind. All right, so malaria, brought on by mosquitoes, that type of thing. Brucellosis, which, all right, it has nothing to do with Bruce Jenner, but what it does, what brucellosis is with dairy products that have not been homogenized. I don't know why it's up there, but again, this is one of those OSHA slides. Syphilis, hepatitis B and C, and also the HIV virus. Okay, now, out of those bugs that we list up there, the one that really gets people concerned is HIV. They know, oh, that's a bad one. I don't want to catch that one. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you that you would have to have either direct sexual contact, she just come back, I like to embarrass them with that stuff, or you would have to be exposed to their blood and they would have to get into your bloodstream. So for our business, when I start an IV at 70 miles an hour and I stick myself, or I have an open cut and I got exposed to somebody's blood, that's how I can get it. The reason I bring this up is hepatitis B and C, you can get through saliva, sweat, urine, feces, vomitus. So it's a little bit easier to get hepatitis B and C, but they can be equally as dangerous. So we put that up there just to kind of give you something to think about while you're stretching in the morning and shaking like a dog. Okay, so HIV is a virus that leads to AIDS, which is autoimmune deficiency type of thing. Basically, your body cannot fight off any sort of bugs, and people can die from it. The HIV virus doesn't survive well outside the body. So if there's a droplet of somebody's blood here that has HIV in a couple hours, it's pretty much gone because it doesn't survive well outside the body. Does that mean, well, it's been there a while, I'm good? No, we still want you to take precautions, okay? You can't get that from casual contact. You shake somebody's hand, you're not putting yourself at risk, okay? So, you're good with that. The hepatitis B virus, this affects the liver. So some of the symptoms that we may see is jaundice, where the person turns yellow. We'll also see that in the eyes, the white of the eyes will turn kind of yellow. They'll be fatigued, okay, and it's not because you've been sitting here all day, okay, it's because of that. You have abdominal pain, loss of appetite. I don't have it. And intermittent nausea or vomiting is some of the signs that we see with hepatitis B. The big one is the jaundice. Because we've all been fatigued, we all have had abdominal pain, we've all had not loss of appetite. But anyway, it can lead to a chronic liver type of disease where the liver shuts down. What does the liver do for us, folks? It's kind of the oil filter of our body. It filters out impurities in our body, so it really needs to function well. There are vaccines that are available, and our folks are given that option because we can be exposed to it quite often. We see sick people that have hepatitis B. The virus can stay potent for at least about a week in dry blood. So again, it's a bad one. And again, we may not see symptoms for 1 to 9 months after exposure. So for our folks, if we have an exposure to this type of thing, we will make out a first report of injury just to protect ourselves, because 9 months later I start coming up with the symptoms, we can trace it back to where I might have gotten exposed. And that's important for our well-being. We have that policy in place so that if I am exposed, and folks, we see a lot of sick people in my profession, we want to make sure that we're protected down the road. Okay. Hepatitis C is the most common one around the United States. And again, we get the same type of symptoms, the jaundice, the fatigue, the abdominal pain, yada, yada, yada. And that can also lead to liver disease and death as well. Very similar. All right, so where do we find these things? Skin tissue. Okay, if you find somebody's finger, okay, treat it carefully. Any body fluid, blood, saliva, vomit, urine, semen, okay, vaginal secretions. Again, see the chief getting a little aggressive. All right. All right, so how does it get passed on? Again, it can contact somebody's blood, okay? Also mucous membranes. And this is why we wash our hands a lot. You'll see us wearing gloves all the time. We can get it through broken skin or also contaminations through sharps and needles. Folks, we take a lot of precautions in the back of those ambulances when we're traveling down the road. Again, we're performing a lot of things that your doctors do at 70 miles an hour going down the road. It's a challenge. I love it. It's great. But we are certainly putting ourselves at risk, and we do take our job very seriously when we're doing this. Okay, so you've been exposed to a blood-borne pathogen. Okay, somebody tells you, hey, listen, yeah, I've been diagnosed with the HIV virus. So what do? Okay, the very first thing is you're going to administer first aid to the person that needs it. We're going to do a cleanup. Probably going to come from us. Right? We have the protective clothing, what we call the PPE, to make sure of that. And we also, the janitorial and maintenance people, that's why I mentioned Ed's crew, you can begin exposed to it. And also, if we improperly handle any infectious waste. So, and again, I mentioned Randy's crew. Somebody comes in with a trash bag and it's dripping red stuff, I'd be careful. You probably have, and I know you have, had somebody come up to you with a sharps container with used needles. I need to get rid of these. We have them come to our station as well when you're closed, or they just bring them to us anyway. That can be a dangerous situation. So what precautions do we take? We use personal protective equipment, gloves, masks, CPR. We don't do mouth-to-mouth, folks. We don't. We have mechanical devices that gives breaths when we have to, so we don't try to put our mouths on somebody. We carry gloves with us all the time. You know, every one of us, when we go on duty, has gloves in our pocket. Okay. We also carry masks. Oh, EKG in there too. Forgot that one. We carry masks in our pockets. Okay. This is also great when the patient's really mad at you and spitting. Okay. And they do that. Okay? It's not like Emergency. Okay? You watch the reruns on that? No, it's not a thing like it. We treat all blood substances like they are contaminated with some sort of additive. Okay? We wash thoroughly. We wash. We'll take gloves off. The gloves are intact. We still wash our hands. Okay? And we properly dispose of contaminated material. Now, contaminated material, if one of the kids on the playground scrapes their knee and you take a little gauze and you kind of clean that up and then you put a Band-Aid on it, that little bit of gauze that has a little bit of blood on it, you can probably throw that right in the trash can, no problem. When the thing is saturated with blood, okay, first of all, you're going to be calling us. But that's the stuff that needs to be bagged up in a special container to be disposed of properly. But normal, small amounts of waste can be disposed of in a normal fashion. Any sharps, anything, any needles that people use need to go into a clearly marked sharps container that the needles can't stick through and that type of thing. You'll see them come, you probably see them in coffee cans or milk jellies or stuff like that. That's, again, that's a risky type of situation. All right, so again, what is PPE? All right, it's personal protective equipment. Is something to use for us and you to protect a person from exposure. So Parks and Rec, when they set up their first aid kits, we put a bunch of gloves and stuff like that in them. So your the workers there, the kid scrapes their knee, you still put on a pair of gloves and you put a bandage on. We do that for two reasons. One, we don't know if this child has any sort of disease that we don't want, or we also are protecting that child, because we may have something on hand that we don't want to get into their bloodstream as well. So we always wear gloves, any patient. They have latex gloves up there. I wouldn't recommend them. Some people have allergies to latex. So all of the products that we use in our ambulance are all a nitrile type of gloves. The ones I just showed you are nitrile. We use goggles, we use CPR masks and aprons. We also have full protective gas. We got hazmat suits. I mean, we can really protect ourselves. So whenever you have somebody's blood that needs to be cleaned up, we'll be glad to help you with that. We are trained and equipped to handle that type of thing. We always want to check our equipment to make sure there's no tears or anything like that. If you use a piece of equipment, you know, you broke open the first aid kit and put some bandages on some kids, make sure you replace the stuff, because the next person coming in to use it is expected to see it there. Okay? If it becomes defective, replace it with something new. We also want to remove the PPE before we, pick up a telephone or start drinking a coffee or something like that. Get that stuff off. Wash your hands first before you do that. Don't reuse disposable equipment. Okay, I know budgets are tight. I keep telling that all the time. But we want to make sure that you're safe. The stuff is made to be disposable. Okay, and also dispose of the PPE properly. Just toss it on the ground, throw it into a trash can that can be disposed of that way. All right. So, it's a little, yeah. All right. So, see if you're paying attention. We wash our hands. Folks, in the side door of our ambulances, we have the non-water type of alcohol-based wash. We use that quite often. We'll take our gloves off. There's a trash can right there. Take a couple pumps off that and wipe our hands as well. Okay? Simple thing to do. Little towelettes that you can put in your first aid kits, or maybe in the trucks or wherever you happen to be working. Okay? So again, wash your hands is very important. Okay? This will happen. Okay, good. What do you think you should do? Okay, we want to know more about what we're dealing with, if we can. If it's not infiltration into our bloodstream, it's probably not as dire, but we still want to make sure we have precautions and wash up well and everything else. And the last thing is report all the incidents. We want to make sure that you're protected down the road. Remember that we talked about the hepatitis not showing up for 9 months or so? We want you to, report to your supervisor, hey, listen, the kid got sick on the swing sets and I cleaned it up. I just want you to know about it. That's really all you need to do in something like that. Okay? All right. So here's sound advice. Wet, sticky, and it's not yours, don't touch it. Okay? All right. And, all right. So, thanks for your attention. Do you have any questions on anything that we covered today on the blood-borne pathogens? Yes,
You
ma'am.
had mentioned about people trying to drop off sharp containers from the sharps or whatever
Yes.
at the transfer station or with you guys. Do you both accept them?
No, we don't. We don't.
Yes,
And
I do.
you do. Okay. What I
As
suggest to
long
the
as
people.
it's home use, they're allowed to dispose of it in
Are
regular
they?
trash.
Okay. That's good to know. I'll send them to you. What we tell them is, what we suggest to them is that they contact their doctor's office. And the doctor's offices will have a way of disposing of them. But now we know that Randy will take them. If they're a Gray resident and they are, maybe a diabetic, they're generating their own stuff, they can bring them to Randy.
They recommend like a Tide bottle, a heavy plastic,
Mhm.
duct tape closed and labeled of what's in it, and discard it in the trash, not in the recycling.
Yeah.
They so do.
Okay, I personally have some issues with that. It's a Tide bottle. It's mislabeled if it's that way. So I would prefer to see a
That's
sharps
the
container.
what the DEP says.
That's not what they tell us. But anyway, that's another topic for another thing. All right. Any other questions? Well, thank you for your attention.